Welcome to the Taiwanese language episode, a podcast for learning and insights in Mandarin and Taiwanese. I am your host, Yasmin. In the previous episode, we mentioned that at that time, Taiwan saw two major ethnic groups were the 本省人 and the 外省人. And you know what? The term 台客 back in those days was kind of like a slight against the local Taiwanese. From Taiwan's liberation in 1945 until 2000, when Chen Shui-bian became the first president to lead a party rotation in Taiwan's history. That is, until before the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, took office in 2000. Taiwan was ruled by the 外省人 for about 50-odd years. During this period of being ruled by 外省人, that is the KMT, many significant events occurred throughout Taiwan, and the promotion of Mandarin was also one of the very important government techniques. Now, this Mandarin promotion movement wasn't all bad. It aims to unify Taiwan's language. Because after Japan ruled Taiwan, lots of people still spoke Japanese due to some complicated feelings. So the nationalist government pushed Mandarin, making it the main language here. Learning another language, it had its perks for the locals too. But here is a catch. The rulers at the time also wanted to kind of wipe out all the local languages, sort of like a different form of suppression. I remember when I was a kid, we were not allowed to speak Taiwanese in school. Only Mandarin was allowed, so else we'd get punished by the teachers. So I will only speak Taiwanese at home with my family because my grandma could not understand my Mandarin. Just like other kids my age from southern Taiwan, I could only understand and speak Taiwanese. It wasn't until my own kids started school that I found out there were textbooks and stuff for learning Taiwanese. Suddenly, it hit me. Why didn't Taiwanese have its own writing system, pronunciation guides, or grammar rules for people to learn? I was really curious about that, but I learned later on why Taiwanese did not have its own script. And combined with my own experiences, I got a whole story about why we were not exposed to Taiwanese characters and phonetics as kids. I never learned to read or pronounce Taiwanese characters, so I took this chance to teach myself. And when I grew up and left my hometown to work elsewhere, I was surprised to find out that there were so many people in other parts of Taiwan who could not speak Taiwanese. That really shocks me. At least, I wasn't more fluent in Taiwanese than the locals in my hometown, but I could speak Taiwanese that others invade elsewhere. Nowadays, being able to write or read a Taiwanese article, well, that's mostly for the elder folks. People my age who can do that are pretty rare in Taiwan. From what I've seen, the reason why I cannot create Taiwanese teaching materials for you is also because of the recent government's promotion of local languages, which has made Taiwanese pronunciation more standardized and Taiwanese characters information more accessible. Since I already have the listening and reading skills, picking up Taiwanese characters have been pretty easy for me. Luckily for me, people in Taiwan are living longer these days, so I get more chances to speak Taiwanese with the elder folks. In southern Taiwan, most people still speak Taiwanese, maybe because it's the heartland of the local Taiwanese, and there are more elderly people there, so you can still chat away in Taiwanese down south. And that's why you might be surprised at first why so many Taiwanese people, especially the young ones, are not that great at speaking Taiwanese. It's all because of the government's policies back then that led to the gradual decline of local languages. Now, about that funny pronunciation you might hear in Taiwan is that we call Taiwan Gouyi. You might wonder why some people's Mandarin sounds a little off, not like the Mandarin you learned in mainstream education at school. It's not the Beijing accent from mainland China, nor is it the Mandarin you learned here. So what exactly is that accent? Let me break it down for you. Back in 1946, the government started pushing the Mandarin promotion movement. And nowadays, those who speak Taiwanese Mandarin, well, they usually fall into two groups. First, those who didn't get a proper education in regular schools when they were young. Maybe they only finished elementary or junior high and never got a chance to learn standard Mandarin. Second, those who started learning Mandarin later in life, and by then their pronunciation habits were already set, so it's hard for them to change. So these two groups might speak Mandarin with a Taiwanese Mandarin accent. However, because of compulsory education in high school nowadays, the number of people who speak Mandarin with a Taiwan Gouyi accent is decreasing. If you really hear it, most of them are our elder friends. Next, let's give a few examples of Taiwan Gouyi that you might hear. Because Taiwanese language itself does not have some of those sounds. It is to a habit of Taiwanese speakers having a Taiwan Gouyi accent when speaking Mandarin. For example, Taiwanese does not have the sound f. So whenever f is used as an initial consonant, it will be pronounced as hu, like 舒服 versus 舒服，吃饭 versus 期换，法国 versus 画狗，发财 versus 花财。Taiwanese also does not have retroflex consonants, so words that require retroflex consonant will become like 知道 versus 街道。Taiwanese also lacks the vowel 语, so words that require the vowel 语 will become like 出去 versus 吃气. On the flip side, Mandarin also lacks certain sounds in Taiwanese. For example, Taiwanese has checked tones, while Mandarin does not. So when someone who can speak standard Mandarin learns Taiwanese, they may also face similar difficulties. For example, 挂色 versus 鬼事，小姐 versus 小舅，激动 versus 葛东。Those are examples to elaborate on the difficulties between two groups of people who pronounce different languages for the first time. particularly when the tone position is unfamiliar to them. But don't worry about it. Learning the language can be fun and enjoyable. It is for communication purpose only. The pronunciation of Taiwan Gouyi under the influence of the Mandarin promotion movement has just been discussed. In the next episode, we would like to share with you why the Mandarin promotion movement marks the beginning of confusion in personal identity. Stay tuned. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review on your listening platform. Feel free to share this podcast with your friends to help more people discover this podcast. You can support my work by buying me a cup of coffee, which helps this podcast continue providing learning resources. To enrich your learning experience, I create a study guide in Chinese with pinyin versions. The content comprises a text in both the Chinese and Taiwanese with a Taiwanese romanization and local phonetic symbols. Vocabulary, reading comprehension questions with answer keys, and extension questions. You can become a member, subscribe to the study guide, and utilize it to preview before the new podcast episode launches or review after listening to the podcast to enrich your language skills. All this information is available in the episode description. Thank you for listening and being with us today. That's all for today's episode. Until next time, bye-bye.